realized there was going to be so many people in the feature. Breaking up. My armpits down my sides, which incidentally is soaking my shorts. I'll be all right after the amnesia epidemic is forgotten. I like to do the unusual. Some may think I'm cracked, but I think being a little cracked lets some light in. Before I go any further, I want to make something perfectly clear. A couple of things I'm going to say tonight are true. I've got a lot of uncles and cousins. Without them, there would be no story. I had a great aunt who wound up without when my great uncle Ferd took off for the Isle of Pines, Cuba, back in the 20s. That was the last she saw of him. But she remembered till her dying day the last words that he told her. That was, keep your nose clean. Years ago, I learned that one's words can get one into trouble. Linda and I were married at an early age. I love her, you know I do. A few years ago, I worked in Lansing, and driving home, I was beginning to feel a little amorous. I was going to tell her that she looked like the breath of spring, and it turned out I was tired, and I told her that she looked like the end of a hard winter. I tried to explain that both meant the same, but my argument wouldn't stand. I got my storytelling from my grandpa John. Maybe telling stories is the reason I've grown up through my hair. You know that song about God watching us from a distance? Well, I really don't believe that is true. Christ said that God can count every hair on your head. You know, you have to stand pretty close to do that. Now with me, he can afford to stand a little further away, for he knows the chance of making a miscount is less. And he has more time to count Jim Kenzie's. Perhaps to tell stories, one has to be a little egotistical. Think about it. An egotist doesn't go around talking about other people. Wasn't that wind strong about a month ago? I was standing out on the front porch watching the trees blow, and I heard my brother Chris's chicken cackling like crazy from across the street. He was out on the porch, and I said, "What in the world is wrong with your chicken?" He said the wind was blowing so hard she had to lay the same egg 3 times. One egg fixed any style is $1. 2 eggs is $1.20. What in the world is wrong with that second egg? Eggs are good. Reminds me of oats. Oats and quality. If you want good, clean oats, you'd expect to pay a fair price for them. But if you can be satisfied with oats that's already been through the horse, well, that comes a little cheaper. My grandpa John, he had a horse that was expensive to feed. So he cut the feed a little every day. Just before the horse cost him nothing, it up and died. I was born on a farm. When I was born, my brother came to me and told me that the folks had 3 boys' names picked out. Patrick, Robert, and Una Merkel. He then told me he picked Patrick. I said, "I'll take Robert." It was a close call. Back then, money was tight. When a teenager, the seat of my pants was so thin that when I sat on a dime, I could tell if it was heads or tails. I had 2 pairs of pants. On one, the zipper wouldn't zip down, and on the other, the zipper wouldn't zip up. I always wore the one that had the zipper that wouldn't zip up. I figured that when I had to go to work, it was better to be ready than sorry. As a kid, I swallowed a nickel, and Doc Trump made me cough up $5. Well, you know, when you said Pepsi in the beginning, I got real thirsty and haven't got over it yet. My cousin Howard is in Vicksburg is a surgeon. One day he came home with a book to read, hoping it would help him relax if he read it. Immediately after he slumped into his easy chair, he tore a whole bunch of pages out of the back of the book. His wife Jane asked him why he did that, and he said he saw that part was labeled appendix, and he took it out without thinking. Uncle Dave was asked by an insurance agent if he ever had appendicitis, and he said he wasn't sure. He knew that he was operated on, but he was never certain if it was appendicitis or professional curiosity. Cousin Pete tore a hole in his pants the other day. He didn't have any insurance on, but his coattails covered the loss. In September, you know that winter's coming. It starts to get later earlier. Back in January, I had an uncle that almost died of ice cream. He was hit on the head by some ice off a roof. He went ice fishing once, brought home 50 pounds of ice, fried it, and almost drowned himself. When he did die, he wasn't covered by any life insurance. All he had on was a nightshirt. In 1976, I took my nephew ice fishing. I'd never gone. The wind was blowing about 20 miles an hour, and it was about 10 degrees. We stood out on Tupper Lake for an hour, and then I remembered why I had ice fishing 16 years before. I once met an honest fisherman. For a few years as a teenager, I lived between the cemetery and the lake. It was there that I realized the statistics of death is 1 out of 1. It takes a lot of work and time to stay alive. It pays to work hard. Sometimes I don't get home till late. One day I was out selling a paint job and didn't get home till 3 a.m. I took off my shoes and started up the stairs. I stepped on the cat. It squealed on me. That woke up my wife. She asked me what time it was. I told her 12 o'clock. Just then the cuckoo clock cuckooed 3 times. I had to stand on the stairs and cuckoo 9 times. Here comes one. I hope you're close to nature. My brother Patrick was 6 years older than I was. It was his job to milk our cow Spot. But he always started after dark, and I always went with him. Once he came up missing. And then all of a sudden he was there, and he acted as if he was inebriated. Evidently he had been sipping some juice from the bottom of the silo. I said, "Pat, you're drunk." He said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Yes, you are." He says, "No, I'm not. See that one-eyed cat coming through the barn door?" I said, "Patrick, that cat's going out." My Aunt Hilda threw the tobacco and could darken the cat's eye at 4 paces. My cousin Tom was in politics. One time he was running for the edge of town. He had the whole town behind him. Once he was running, the only one running for sheriff and won. That was up in Peck. There wasn't that many people to make a bushel. He did different things in life. He tried mugging until a little old lady hit him in the groin with a crutch. He tried robbing. One time he stole 116 veal cutlets. Then he had to go out and steal a tremendous amount of bread. My father-in-law taught me how to save money on groceries. I just saw my wife back there. When the family sits down to eat supper, you give the kids a dime if they don't eat their supper. You tell them to put it underneath the pillow when they go to bed. During the night, you sneak up there and you take all their dimes from underneath the pillow, and you don't give them breakfast because they lost their dimes. It makes perfectly good sense. When I was in the Coast Guard, I had a gypsy read my mind and slap my face. I had my fortune told. Fortune teller made me give her $2 before she'd tell me anything. Then she told me that I was too easy with my money. He forgot the fans. She also told me I was going to marry a short one. She said I wouldn't live with her long. You know, Marla? She had such bad breath that it could knock a buzzard off a manure spreader. Another night it burned both my ears. My wife had the iron by the phone. The phone rang, I grabbed the iron by mistake. Then the guy called back. That same night a big moth came out of the closet and ate the coat off one of my dogs. My cousin Norris in Detroit fell into a vat of beer at Stroh's. It wasn't too merciful. Before he died, he had to get up twice and go to the bathroom. Boy, you know you're in trouble when one of the kids say it's almost impossible to flush a grapefruit down the toilet. Cousin George had a peg-leg pig. It was a family pet, and he couldn't eat it all at once. You know the animal didn't want to die when you see pig's knuckles in a fist. Always wondered what that ham had before it was cured. A couple of weeks ago, Cousin George's son tried to sniff and coat, but couldn't get the bottle up his nose. 10 years ago, he got married. After he was married, Misty hadn't kissed him since. Misty wasn't his wife. My wife's cousin Myrtle had a baby boy last week. Named him Nazmo King. That's an unusual name, but she claimed she saw that God gave her a sign. It was big red letters as she was going in the delivery room. Turned out to be a no smoking sign. Hey, smile. Remember, smile and the world smiles with you. Snore and you sleep alone. Read a book.
Chief of police name on a plaque, because if you can spend 37 hours in the feed store and listen to that,